Hello friends, let us talk about language and communication. We will talk in detail about the features and structure of language as a tool for communication. We will begin with the definition of language, then we will talk about the differences in animal and human communication. After that, we will discuss the features of language. Next, the relationship between language and communication, types of communication, elements of communication, and in doing all this, we will try to understand how language functions as a tool for communication. Let us begin by defining language. When we think of language, we first think of words. We can say that language involves using words and sounds meaningfully to communicate. By changing the order of words in a sentence, we can change the meaning or even make it meaningless. For instance, "She is a good student" is a statement. We change the word order to "Is she a good student?" and it becomes a question. We again change the word order to say "Is student she," it becomes meaningless. Different linguists have given various definitions of language. To put it simply, language is a communication tool that each one of us uses while interacting with others. It is composed of symbols and sounds, and it is a very dynamic phenomenon. In fact, language happens, develops, and gets refined because of the need to communicate. In many situations, the words language and communication are used interchangeably. However, there is a fine but marked difference between the two, as we shall understand in this session today. Language conveys, among other things, the speaker's culture, traditions, and values to the listeners. It is influenced by the society where it operates. It also influences that very society. Language is distinctly a human activity which is used to convey thoughts, feelings, information, and so on from one person to the other. Language requires intelligence of the type of which only human beings are capable. And among them, language is usually the primary means of communication. It helps us to make sense of our complex thoughts and our experiences. Language is a system in that it is made up of different but interdependent components, and these components are phonology, morphology, syntax, and lexicon. Another interesting facet of language is that it is simultaneously unique as well as universal. Every language is unique in that its characteristics and properties are unique to itself and not shared by other languages. Universal, on the other hand, means that every language has traits like sounds and symbols which it shares with other languages. As a tool for communication, language can be broken up into words, sentences, phonemes, and morphemes. Talking about the structure of language, we need to know that language is a system made up of different components like phonemes, morphemes, lexicon, syntax, and the context. Let us talk about each of these in slight detail. Phoneme is the smallest unit of sound which can change the meaning of a word, but by itself it would be meaningless. For example, in words like bit, lit, sit, only one phoneme has been replaced, but the meaning has been completely changed. The next is morpheme. Morpheme is the smallest meaningful unit of a language. Not always the same as a word. Words can stand alone, but morpheme cannot always stand alone. Morphemes are also different from syllables in that a syllable is a division based on pronunciation and not meaning. For example, the word teacher has two syllables, T and ch. Education has three syllables, edu, k, shun. But morphemes are divisions based on meanings. Like the word unbreakable has three morphemes, un, break, able. Syntax, on the other hand, are rules for sentence construction. Different languages have different syntactic rules, but every language does have some form of syntactic rule. A lexeme is a basic lexical unit of a lexicon or the word stock of a language. The way a lexeme can be used in a sentence can be determined by its word class or by its grammatical category. Lexeme is the basic unit of meaning or a word in its basic form. For example, the lexeme walk can have various forms like walks, walked, and even walking. Context. Context includes intonation, body language, choice of words, in short, everything that communicates a particular meaning. For example, if a teacher says, "My, what a bright class," usually this may be seen as a compliment. However, if the tone is sarcastic and the face is unsmiling, the meaning of the sentence is changed. Based on its structure, language also serves certain functions. For instance, language has what Jacobson called an emotive function. It means that the speaker expresses their stance on a topic or a situation. They communicate their emotions also through language and how they deliver their speech. So the listener can understand the emotional state of the speaker as being happy or angry or sad or anxious. Not just emotive, but language also has a directive, or as Halliday said, instrumental function, which decides the behavior of the listener. That is, the speaker's language decides the behavior of the speaker. That also means that language is used not only to make the listeners do something, but also do it in accordance with what the speaker wants. The instrumental function is used to manipulate the environment. Such a language is used while making requests or giving commands. The third function of language is the regulatory function. It serves to control an event which happens when we give an approval or reject something. We use representational language when we present facts or make a statement or a presentation. The next function, interactional function of language, is important because it ensures that communication continues smoothly. And this interactive function is reflected mainly in conversations. Language also has a heuristic function. This helps us to gain knowledge and interact with our environment in order to better understand it. We use language for personal functions to express our feelings and emotions, etc. And this function discloses our personality. Finally, the imaginative function of language. It helps to give wings to our creativity. All these points describing language have a very close relationship with communication. Now, what is communication? Communication is exchanging thoughts, feelings, ideas or information, etc. between two or more people using words or signs which are understood by each participant. At this point, let us differentiate between language and communication. Remember, there are many ways of communicating and language is one of them. Of course, language is also the primary means of communication. But at the end of the day, language is a tool and communication is a process or an experience of sharing messages. So, communication focuses on the message, focuses more on stylistic and structural aspects of the communicating situation. Another significant difference between language and communication is that language is dynamic, with new words or new forms of words being added almost every day. Communication, on the other hand, is largely and surprisingly static, in that the style and the basic steps of communication stay more or less the same. We all know that communicating is a basic human need, and interacting and engaging with others is a sign of healthy social living. And the main strategy for doing so is usually through a shared language. So overall we can say that communication has a larger scope than language, and language is a part of communication. Language allows us to communicate in various ways, but it is only one tool or one set of tools to communicate. The other ways to communicate can be non-verbal, which include facial expressions like this expression shows doubt, this expression shows thinking, and this communicates happiness. A smile always communicates happiness. And body language, that is bodily movements like giving a thumbs up to wish somebody good luck, or giving both thumbs up or raising your hands high to show victory. Apart from facial expressions and body language, we also have the use of paralanguage and object communication. As the word indicates, para means something which lends support to the main phenomenon, like paramedics or para teachers or even paramilitary. Paralanguage therefore is used to give a nuanced meaning or to convey an emotion. Paralanguage includes intonation, pitch and volume. Like, if I speak softly, it means that I am sharing a secret. Or if I talk very fast, it shows either that I am very excited or I am in a hurry to communicate. This is paralanguage. Object communication, as the word suggests, is using an object to communicate. For instance, a bindi indicates a marital status, or wearing a sari indicates being part in a formal situation, or the way different people, for instance, dress up indicates their vocation, like a policeman or a priest or a doctor. So we can understand that for any group to function effectively, communication is necessary. We also know that communication is a two-way activity, and it consists of 5 or 6 elements. The first element of communication is the sender. Sender is the person who initiates the communication. And how is this communication initiated? Communication is initiated in the form of a message which the sender encodes. Encodes, that is giving some graphic shape to that message. So sender uses a message, and this message is communicated through a channel. Channel can be a face-to-face situation. Channel these days is also electronic situation, where we can use a mobile phone, where we can use WebEx or Google Meet, or this recording. This is a channel. Advertisements are channel. Prospectus of any institution is a channel. Brochures are also channels. Flyers are channel. So sender encodes the message and conveys it through a channel to the fourth element, which is a receiver. Receiver is the person who decodes the message, in other words, understands, and then gives a feedback. That is the next element of communication. Feedback has 2 important functions. 1, it completes the communication cycle, and 2, it indicates the level of decoding. For example, in a classroom, a teacher is the sender of the message. The subject that he or she wants to teach is the message. Channel can, as we said, can be face to face, or these days we use the electronic medium a lot. And then the receivers are the students, and the feedback they give is in various forms. Many times the facial expressions act as feedback. Many times we give assignments and the students' response on the assignment acts as feedback, and in both cases it completes both the functions of feedback. That is, 1, completing the communication cycle, and secondly, indicating the level of decoding. In other words, how much the person the receiver has understood. There is another component or another element of communication known as noise. Noise in communication cycle, it means anything which distorts the message. So, if we are communicating through the internet and weather conditions distort the communication, then that becomes a noise. So, noise, not just as the word suggests, loud sound or disruptive sound, but anything that distorts the message is known as noise. Anything that distorts the communication is known as noise. These were the 7 elements of communication. Now it is time to differentiate between human and animal communication. It is important to note that every living being communicates. The mode of communication differs. For instance, a tree grows towards sunlight, thereby communicating its requirement for light, obviously for its survival. Dolphins jump out of water in delight. Bees dance to signal to other bees about the presence of nectar. Dogs bark at strangers. And when birds suddenly fly away from where they were sitting, it signals danger. However, the signaling of animals is related to the here and now. They are incapable of abstract interaction. Human language has the quality of displacement. That is, sitting here, we can talk about people and events not present in our immediate surroundings. So, humans communicate and animals signal. Further, for us to communicate, we need to learn and master a language. Animals are genetically programmed to make their peculiar sounds. For example, a newborn dog will be still able to bark, but it takes a human being about 18 months after birth to be able to start uttering intelligible words. Finally, humans have the capacity to learn any language. For instance, so far I don't know, but if I want, I can learn, say, German. On the other hand, dogs bark, cats mew, and horses neigh. And that's it. They cannot learn each other's language. A dog cannot mew, horses cannot bark. They do just their language. Now let us discuss the features of language. Firstly, language is artificial in the sense that it is man-made. It came into being by our desire to communicate our needs and our wants. It does not exist in isolation or outside our mind. Language always needs a context. Further, since it is composed of symbols, each language represents a referent. For instance, if I say table, we will all imagine a piece of furniture used to put things on with usually a flat surface. Let us take another example. Human beings attach meanings to words according to needs and modify these meanings as the needs change. For example, the word awful. If we study Shakespeare in English, awful would mean in awe of something or someone. Being awful, full of awe. In today's English, awful, of course, we know is something dislikable. That is why we say that language is artificial. Second, language is arbitrary. This means that there is no logic in the symbol-referent relationship. To put it in simple terms, there is no direct relationship between a word and its meaning. For instance, when I said table, why did that particular piece of furniture came to mind has no logical explanation. Having said that, we need to also point out that language is systematic in the sense that when we say a table, only a table will come to mind and not even a stool. Thirdly, language is abstract. To be abstract means that language presents a generalized idea of things and thoughts. Meanings are not always tangible and one word can mean various things. Let us take the word fell. It is the past tense of fall, like he fell down yesterday. But when we say to fell a tree, the meaning changes. It means to cut a tree. Similarly, the word lump, L-U-M-P. If we find a lump in our porridge or in our dal, it means that the dish has uneven thickness. If I use the phrase a lump in my throat, it is an idiomatic expression which means that I am overcome with emotion. And a lump anywhere else in the body can indicate a serious medical condition. The next feature of language. Language is recursive. This feature enables us to make a number of sentences using the same basic grammatical templates. Let us look at the phrase he is. Now we can express n number of ideas or thoughts with this little template. For instance, he is a boy. He is a hard-working boy. He is a teacher. He is an honest man. He is very busy. He is in no mood to swim. And so on. We can go on endlessly. The idea is that there is complete freedom to express ourselves, and there is also no limit to the length of different sentences that can be generated using this basic template. The fifth feature of language is that it is creative or productive. New words are added and new meanings are given to existing words every day. Words are added by different processes. For instance, borrowing. Words like Almira has been borrowed from Portuguese, envelope from French, and that horse riding dress known as Jodhpurs obviously from Hindi. There are also portmanteau words which are made from combining words and sounds from different words like netiquette, netizens, webkoof, and these words are self-explanatory. Netiquette of course means the etiquettes of exploring the internet. Netizens are people who are a lot of time on the internet, and webkoof has been made with web and the Hindi word bewakoof, which means fool, which is a portal to challenge or to investigate fake news. So these words are portmanteau words. New words are also formed sometimes by reducing the noun to form verbs, like opt is made by reducing the noun option, and emote is made by reducing the noun emotion. Nouns are also made into verbs by changing the pronunciation of a word. For instance, the word project. When we say that we project an image or we have to project a particular image, it is a verb. When we work on a project, it is a noun. Similarly, object. When I say I object to speaking out of turn, object is a verb indicating protesting. And when someone is an object of delight, something a pleasant sight, then it is a noun. To sum up, today we have discussed language, communication, the relationship between the two, how language functions as a tool for communication, the difference between human and animal communication, and the features of language. While doing this, we have also tried to understand how language is a tool of communication. Finally, I have a few questions for you to think over and answer for yourself. Firstly, do you feel that online teaching learning has changed the way classroom communication takes place? Can you list 3 or 4 changes you have experienced? And what has been their impact or the impact of these changes on student learning? My next question is, what do you think you do well when you communicate? In other words, what aspect about your communication skill are you most confident about? Next, from this lecture, what point or what points can you say you will include or keep in mind when you communicate next? Finally, based on what you have learned, what aspect of your students' communication skills will you seek to improve? Thank you so much.